Greetings, I am at chess.com battling their new robots, the Super Plumber robots. And it starts at the 400 and goes to the 1400. And on every game I played the black pieces, and I try to show different things throughout the ratings, things to watch out for. During the 1400, I sharpened my pencil a little bit more, start showing about looking for open files, semi-open files, getting a major piece in there, using your pieces together. These earlier ones, I talk a little bit more about just controlling the center and developing your minor pieces, followed by your major. And so, without any further ado, let's get to it. All right, so this first bot is rated 400, and let's go through this. Computer said I played at 61%, and the opponent at 55.4%, and my dog's not very happy with me with those numbers, and maybe that's justified, but nonetheless, let's see how I do against this robot. And there's a lot to learn here, and bottom of this, I played at 700. At the end of the thing, it says about what you had been rated at to play. So anyway, let's get to it. So in the beginning, if you're new to chess, just remember control the center and develop your minor pieces. Your major pieces are the rook and the queen. Rooks and queen. All right, so far so good. Yeah, this is I used to make these kind of little moves when I started chess, and like I said, this game's kind of sloppy, but there's still good material in here to learn, because it's a battle to control the center, and this really doesn't help. I mean, it prevents this bishop from coming here, but that's okay. It wouldn't have really disturbed anything. If it would have took, then I would retake. Working towards the center is usually the way to go. So instead of having a wing pawn out here, you could bring it in if the bishop did take. So something to keep in mind. Okay. So I make lots of blunders here. So let's take a look at this. So the Richter scale has me up by 4 points right here. Okay. And usually lining your pieces up is good, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. Having these lined up is normally good, but I should have totally dealt with this pawn right here. And remember, this is still the opening. Not all the pieces are out and developed. This is still the opening phase. And getting rid of this pawn would have been the key. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this a quicker video. So I like putting an absolute pin on this knight, but it really doesn't go anywhere. So there's one thing that I want to show you. So now I control this. This is an open file, and my rook owns it. Whenever you see an open file, try to have a major piece own that file. It's open because there's no pawns on that, and so this F file would be semi-open. Okay. So like I said, I make a lot of mistakes, and I totally dropped my queen. But I want to show something coming up. And here it is. This and this. You know, when you're in this situation, don't ever step out in front of your queen with your king like that, because you're gonna lose it every time, just like that. Okay, so and here I finally, get your pieces out there, use them together. Don't forget to do that. And so that was one thing I was majorly lacking. And so I brought this over, the king, to cut off this king from being able to move. My king owns those squares. Okay. And yeah, I should have obviously just went there instead of make it more complicated than it needed to be. But there it is. So big takeaway at this level, control the center, develop your pieces, and make sure you don't leave any hanging. Just control the center, develop your pieces, first your minor, then your major, and you'll probably do really well against this 400. Okay, so the next spot in the series, and we're going to take a look at that. I played the black pieces. Computer says I played at 89.5. My opponent at a 59. And let's see, I'm curious to see what it said. Okay, so it said tries to average out and says you were playing at around a 1500 ELO. So I'm pretty happy with that, of course. So let's get to it, and just like the other opponent, just remember to control the center and develop your minor pieces, usually followed by your major, which is your 2 rooks and your queen. And I know I said that, but it is important, especially in 800. If you follow those rules and try to get some pieces lined up, and I'll show you some other things here in this one. I'll start talking a little more in depth about things as the ELO jumps up. So the Richter scale has me ahead by 2.5. And this is a semi-open file because there's only one pawn on it, and I own it with a major piece, so that's good. You know, I kind of jumped out. This was nice to own this, and then I jumped out in front of it. And a lot of times in chess, you know, you threaten a piece and it's just going to move somewhere. Just threatening a piece by itself is useless unless it's going somewhere. There's some greater plan. And, you know, they just dropped their queen. And so let's go back and look right here. I want to show this right here would be mate, because this pawn is here and it is guarding that square, and then if the queen would go there, there's nothing to defend. So that would be mate, but now that this bishop is moved out of the way, the rook can stop that from happening. So okay, so let's keep this going. Now I've got two major pieces lined up on an open file. So if you see an open file, all things being equal, you want to be the one to own it. And there it is, and that is mate. So this all comes from the power of an open file, 2 major pieces lined up. Got your pawn working out here, so you can see the theme is get your pieces out there and get them working together is the main thing. So nice little victory there. I'm pretty happy with that. And what was that, 13 moves? So, okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this one is an interesting game. It's the next robot, rated 1200. So let's take a look at that. Computer says I played at 84%. My opponent played at 39%. Because there was some blunders that my opponent made and I capitalized on it. And the computer said I played at about a 1600. So I'm happy with that. But let's take a look at this. And like I said in the other ones, it's still 1200, I think, is a respectable ELO. It is for me. Now here, this little Vanchetto thing happening that my opponent does is targeting this. I chose to protect it with my knight, and I'm developing my knight at the same time. So, you know, no more slacking off and getting sloppy about things. So I got to control the center and develop pieces. And so far, as you can see, I'm doing a little bit better job than my 1200 opponent. And Richter scale has me up by 2.3 if I'm reading that right. Maybe I need thicker glasses. Okay. So one thing I want to show. So I like doing this. Let me go back just one half step here. Okay. So the problem with developing your knight here is, you're going to control a lot less squares. Here the knight only controls 4 squares as opposed to, developing it more towards the center. You want your knight to own as many as possible. And then if I take, you're going to have a double stacked pawn. And that's exactly what happens. And right here, the king is very vulnerable. And I do have 2 pieces lined up. That's always good. So always look to do that. And I should have went ahead and did it doing this because there is a mate in 1 coming up, and doing this castle was just a silly mistake on my part. So here, if my opponent takes, it's mate. So it's not a free knight. When you see something like this, you think, oh, my opponent blundered. Usually not. It's there's some trick to it. Okay, so should have started making an escape route, but my opponent did not. And so there it is, and that is mate. So gives you plenty of things to watch out for and to look for. The biggest thing that I tell myself is before I make a move, at least look at every piece on the board. So you don't drop a piece or whatever. But anyway, so let's go on to the next one. All right, so this robot is rated 1400, and I played the black pieces again. And so computer said I played at 82%. My opponent, we'll call it 69%. And so by now you've heard me say control the center and develop your pieces. So just play it safe at 1400. I got to start playing conservative and really watch what I'm doing. And so it's just controlling. We got Sicilian defense, and I like taking with the knight sometimes. I know traditional line is to take with the pawn, but it usually ends the same way. And I like doing this right here in this situation. Okay, now previously I said, this was kind of a weak move, but I want to get this pawn moved, and I don't want this to happen. Check. So sometimes it is okay to do that, like in this situation. I would rather develop a piece for sure, but I really need to start thinking about pawns and it's not being thrown in check. The queen is out here. It's a little dangerous to just get your queen out there so quick, but it is, solid theory. It is theory with how that Sicilian opening ends a lot of times. Okay, so now I have to be aware that my opponent has pieces lined up. Okay, so sometimes I do play where I get the knight out there, but okay, so again, just trying to control the center. And I'm pushing this castle a little too much. I wanted to hurry up and castle, but, this bishop is blocked in. So right now it has little value, but it will have future value and future ideas. So it is good that it's out there, but okay. So now I control this long diagonal. There was, let's go back. I think the computer said, yeah, that was a good move, but the best move would have been to put it here. And that's true. I see that now. I mean, I own more squares, and it's more controlling the center sitting there as opposed to out here. So something to keep in mind. And okay. So here I like my king. I don't want to disrupt the protection of my king too much, but at the same time I want to keep things moving. The opening is over with because the pieces are developed, okay? And in the end game, normally you need to use your king and getting towards the center of the board. So I'm not too concerned with this open area. My king is still pretty well protected. So yeah, let's keep going. And I see that now. I didn't see that in the game, that this would have been a better move. Because if the queen were to take, then I could take with a couple different options and then be threatening that bishop as well. So, okay. Well, here I really wasn't sure what to do. This queen has a relative pin on it. It's not an absolute pin, but it's a relative pin, because it's not like the king down here or something. So as soon as I move this bishop, the queen's under attack, but I've got plenty of defenders down here, so I wasn't too worried about it. But normally I wouldn't like this, but it is an open file, this D file, and I want to own it. My opponent wants to own it. And, so I like this attack. Computer says there was better things I could have done. Computer knows better than I do, for sure. Okay, so let's keep this going. Now, I am trying to get to where I can line up things. All that was about me trying to get to where I can line things up, and I want to lay down some heat, but to do that, I've got to use my pieces together. And my dog is having a fit back there, as you can probably hear, but that's the way it is. Okay, and there's mate, and that all come about through things like when you're battling these 1400s, you see an open file or a semi-open file, try to be the one to own it and use your pieces together. That's the best advice I can give for 1400. Is to look for those things there. So thanks so much for joining me, battling these robots at chess.com. A lot of fun. And as always, have a great day.